Thank you. I've seen this video many times and each and every time it touches me. I love this quote actually to start with, and maybe just a little introduction as it was mentioned. I come from a small country, only 17 million people, and today I live in a city which only surpasses already 17 million people. And yet the aviation sector of India itself still has an incredible amount to grow. I come from a country where we were serving 150 destinations from a city of 1 million people. Today, we're not serving that number out of India. So just imagine what is the potential for India going forward. And this quote I love actually, and since I arrived in India, every morning I realize waking up in India is waking up to life itself. And as was mentioned, I'm 1 year here, part of this incredible country, an incredible rapid transformation of the country. And to that, once again, congratulations to AIMA for organizing today such a session and making sure that all the topics which are there on India's rapid transformation are being touched upon. And sometimes just simple numbers will explain a lot. And clearly the correlation between a young, affluent market and the ambition to fly is very strong. So looking at the number of young people in the country, what that would mean for aviation speaks a lot to the potential. And if we look actually at a different number, it's even more surprising. Today in India, we have around 750 aircraft on a population of 1.4 billion. Today in China, with a similar population, there's around 3,500 aircraft. Admittedly, the landmass in China is bigger than the landmass in India, but still it speaks to the level of India being underserved in terms of aviation. So Jesse, I'm not monitoring each and every day the number of passports being issued, but also the number of aircraft in other parts of the world, and how can we relate that to India itself. And of course there were questions when India recently, in fact, dominated the air show in Paris. And I jokingly mentioned to some people, in fact, it was the Indian air show happening to take place in Paris. With the order of Air India and the order of IndiGo itself, in fact, creating a focus on what's the next frontier when it comes to aviation. And again, if you just look to these numbers, the number of aircraft today, 750-ish in India itself, 3,500 in China, and even more in the US and in Europe, it shows all the potential where we can grow going forward. And what does it mean? It means we'll organize for a lot of jobs. 1 aircraft, 100 jobs, 600 related jobs. And these are ballpark numbers, but it shows to some extent what it would do for the larger economy. And there's more than just jobs. There's also aviation as a force for growth. And there are some international studies, and recently the Honorable Minister of Transportation has also repeated that in some speeches. Each dollar invested in aviation, or each rupee invested in aviation, will return 3.1 to the larger economy. And that in itself underlines the importance for aviation. And that's probably why the Indian government has placed so much importance on expanding the aviation sector in policies, in infrastructure, and importantly, in vision going forward. And there's no reason why India should not have its own set of aviation hubs. A country of the size of India needs and deserves to have carriers of a world size and airports of a world size. Because 65% of the world population today lives in the range 5 to 6 hours flying from India. If you just look at that number, 65% of the world population today in the range of 5 to 6 hours flying from India. And the sheer range we can operate out of Delhi and the range we can operate out of Chennai, totally different cities and totally different ranges, speaks a lot to the potential of India, and importantly for the Indian consumers to make sure that they can go pretty much anywhere in the world connecting in India itself. And with that, we have the ambition to become a global aviation hub and a strong collaboration within that aviation system. Because all the strong hubs in other parts of the world, and we don't have to look too far to see some very effective and very successful examples outside India, be it in Singapore or be it in the Middle East, require a very strong and very deep collaboration between all the stakeholders. Airports, airlines, of course the government, but also, and it was mentioned in the introduction, also whatever can be done in terms of manufacturing. India can and will develop its own manufacturing basis. And already we see examples of some great companies working in the high-tech aerospace. And with that, if we collaborate with strong support of the government in terms of policies, with airports being expanded, airports being transforming, new airports being built, all the top 20 cities in the world, no, I should phrase it differently. A significant part of the top 20 cities in the world in terms of population have a dual airport system. We'll soon have in India a new airport in Delhi and a new airport in Mumbai. And already recently the second airport in Goa was opened, and even that airport demonstrated that it did not have any negative effects, any downside for the existing airport. So it just shows the potential which is there. And I guess IndiGo, and I won't ask the question who in this room has never flown in IndiGo, but I'm sure if I were to do, it's just going to be one hand, two hands. Probably what IndiGo has been doing since inception in 2006 is incredible. And I take an immense pride to be part of that journey of IndiGo, which has only started 17 years ago. And in 17 years ago, when it started with one single flight, from Delhi to Guwahati to Imphal, today is becoming one of the larger airlines in the world and literally giving wings to the nation. And with that, and I'm sure you all see every now and then on social media wonderful moments of some of our first-time flyers, parents being taken by their kids for the first time on a flight, young couples going for the first time international. So flying is also emotion. And with that, we build on making it better each and every day. And IndiGo right from the start had 3 customer promises: an on-time performance, affordable fares, and a hassle-free and courteous service. And ever since the start, and I guess for this audience who is so aware of management and philosophies, just keeping a simple customer promise and deliver on it each and every day is the most important part. And IndiGo there has done and transformed actually Indian aviation with that simple 3 customer promises: on-time performance, affordable fares, hassle-free and courteous service. And more recently, I would say, an unparalleled network. A network which is spanning the nation 3,200 kilometers from north to south and 3,000 kilometers from east to west, resulting in a network of some 500 different routes. 100 international and a little over 400 domestic. And each and every time we make a video like the one we just showed, after a couple of weeks we realized the video is outdated because we've added more destinations. And as recent as this weekend, we opened up new flights to Almaty and to Tashkent. Early August we started flights from Mumbai into Nairobi. It was an emotional moment for our company. For the first time, IndiGo was touching on African soil. And for the first time, we were able to connect people from different parts of the world, flying from Tbilisi to Delhi, connecting to Phuket. So slowly, we are developing our network, also international, and therefore the number of passports is so important and needs to be tracked each and every day. Because this 400 domestic flights will continue to grow. And each and every time we open up a new flight into a new city, we see an economic spin-off. And there, and recently I had the pleasure to speak to a large group of hoteliers in the country. What does it mean for international hotels? What does it mean for welcoming foreigners to transfer? What does it mean for Indian business people going from one place to the other in the country? So just the potential and the opportunity to further build on that number of routes is there. And today we take pride being the 7th largest airline in the world in terms of daily departures. in 17 years. That's just an incredible achievement. Last year, we welcomed 86 million customers on board of our flights, and this year, we expect to reach 100 million. And on a good day today, thank you, on a good day today, we welcome 3 lakh customers on a single day on board of the flights. And that may look like a lot of people, but I guess we're all aware of the statistics of the number of travelers by train. 8 billion a year. So can you imagine this inspirational travel and aspirational travel for people traveling from Bihar to Chennai or from Guwahati to Mumbai, suddenly no longer 2 days in a train, but 2 hours in a flight. So that aspiration to travel will continue to grow. And therefore, and I'm very glad it was mentioned also in the introduction words here, it's important for us to keep ahead also on the sustainability part. And having the world's youngest fleet for airlines operating more than 100 aircraft, it means we'll also have the lowest CO2 emissions of the airlines in the world with a larger fleet than 100 aircraft. And yet, we continue there to collaborate in the sector, optimize routes, less weight, even looking at sustainable aviation fuel. Important part. This was mentioned in the video, and I guess I'm working in aviation now for 31 years. There's a few moments in your career, and I'm sure you all have that same experience in your respective careers. There's a few moments in your career and you realize this is an historic moment. This is something which is happening today and it will not happen in the next 10 years again. And I had that very feeling and felt extremely honored that I could sign on behalf of IndiGo an order of 500 aircraft, which we recently at the Paris Air Show. No airline in the world has ever placed an order of this magnitude of 500 aircraft at a single supplier. And there were some journalists there asking, is it not too much? Can India handle all that growth? And just look back to the initial numbers which I showed. The number of people actually flying, the number of planes per population, and the opportunity to further build on it. But that means we'll have a steady flow of aircraft, almost 1,000 aircraft on order between today and the middle of the next decade. Which means we will be welcoming an aircraft pretty much each and every week. So think about what does it mean in terms of training, in terms of development, in terms of pilot hiring, in terms of cabin crew, in terms of mechanics, in terms of management. So it's an incredible journey we're embarking. And with that, IndiGo expects to be double of today's size by the end of the decade. And that will bring us really from a domestic carrier into more a global aviation giant. Which again, if you're the third largest economy in the world soon, if you're the largest country in the world in terms of population, you should have an airline system and airlines which are a reflection of that population and of that economy. And I believe IndiGo has everything in it to become that global aviation giant. And with that, we have developed a strategy with focus on these 3 very pillars. Reassure the basis of our company, develop whatever we can do in terms of IT, processes, structure, and create really a future. So reassuring the basis of the company is incredibly important, but also very much developing our people. And I mentioned it already, the number of technicians we need, the number of engineers we need, the number of pilots we need. And there again, being in India with such a young population, such an ambitious population, and such a well-educated population, I believe we're in an incredibly good spot to take up that challenge. And when it comes to digital, probably even more. The whole world comes to India for digitization. So why can we not be ourselves a leader in that digital part? So we have clearly a very strong ambition to invest in that. And the last pillar here is really about the next step of developing. Further internationalization. Today we operate 32 international destinations, 81 domestic. 32 international, 81 domestic. So it just speaks to the potential we still have to further build on that international part. Cargo and loyalty, 2 new pillars, and of course ventures, whatever we're going to do in order with the entire ecosystem to build on that. We are doing that together with partners. Most recently, we've added one more partners, so we start to build up some international partnerships. And I can tell you, for these partners, working with IndiGo and the domestic network we're having is a great access to the wonderful market here in India itself. So in conclusion, thank you for your attention. IndiGo has the ambition to become bigger, better, and even more global. And with that, transforming Indian aviation, and we continue to build on the pillars, domestic, but even more so, continue to build international. And with that, and you see that whenever you board our flights, India by IndiGo is, I think, a great reflection of what IndiGo stands for and our ambition to go forward in India itself and with all the connections we're having. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, so much for your attention.